You're listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense with your host, Doug Thorpe. Here's Doug.
Well, greetings, everyone. This is another episode of Leadership Powered by Common Sense. I am your host, Doug Thorpe. In this episode, we're going to take a bit of a detour, I believe, in what we may traditionally talk about here, but I have a special guest. Her name is Shay Wheat, and what she does is she helps organizations and professionals with event planning. So if you have ever entertained the idea of doing something special with your business or your offering, we're going to talk about ways that you can really go to market with a different kind of opportunity and something that a lot of people maybe don't think about from time to time. So we're going to get into a lot of ideas, tips, and options. And so let me say with that, Shay, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Doug. I'm excited to be here.
I am too. Likewise, when Shay and I first met, we talked about a lot of those things. I shared with her that somewhere back in my life story, I was an event promoter, and so I've got a good appreciation for what it takes to put on a large scale event with a large attendance, maybe in a big arena or big facility. But Shay, let me start with a real basic question. No, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna park that. I'm gonna stay true to my form. I'm gonna ask you to tell us a little backstory on how did you get into what you're doing now for people?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I like to say I kind of fell into it as like a business, as a profession, because I think I've always loved events. But I was a speaker on somebody else's stage. It was New Year, New You. And there was like multiple speakers. People were passing microphones back and forth. And I was just messing around with the guy who had my microphone. And I'm like, hey, dude, don't go spitting on my mic, all right? And he was like, you're funny. Who are you? Right? And so I'm like, oh, this is who I am. And come to find out, he was the head of education for Dr. Oz's nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I was just at Maria Shriver's women's conference when she was the first lady of California. And she had 14,000 tickets sold in 14 minutes. So needless to say, I didn't get a ticket. So I volunteered and I actually helped on the production side. And in that, I ended up meeting his sister. And he's like, no way, that's crazy. She's best friends with our CEO, and we're doing a women's conference. You should help us. And I looked at him and was like, okay. So that's kind of how I got my first gig as an associate producer. I was in charge of over 100 volunteers and over 70 speakers.
Wow. Good for you. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so how long have you been running your business?
Officially since 2014.
Okay.
But I think I've always been in the world of events, to like just being a kid and having everybody come over and it's a pool party and then we're going to do pizza and then we're going to make hats and then we're going to do movie night. And I've always been planning them, but officially since 2014.
Nice. So is there such a thing as your normal client or your primary client?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We love supporting speakers, coaches, experts, thought leaders in scaling and leveraging their company through events. So a lot of our clients end up having sales conversations. They do them one-on-one, and they're looking to leverage and do one-to-many. So they're either going to be doing like a 1-day sales and enrollment event, a 3-day sales and enrollment event. They're going to be doing summits. They're going to be doing workshops. They're going to be doing retreats in order to sell into their 6-month or year-long program. That tends to be the niche that we get to play with.
Nice. And maybe some of the listeners here will be familiar with those kinds of programs and then maybe have even partaken in some. I'm thinking of some subject matter gurus and thought leaders that I've had experience with. Jeff Walker and his product launch formula, Michael Hyatt in his best year ever, and he does a program, several more beyond that. Of course, Russell Branson and some of his things. So
spot on.
A lot of the online gurus are associated with good size events that happen. I know Jeff Walker has done his globally. He's been down in South America and Europe and other places, not just in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. So well, and with the pivot to being completely virtual when everybody had to stop live events a couple of years ago, we all had to take a look at what does that look like in our business? How do we still support our audience moving forward? And so a lot of people moved to the virtual side of things that didn't think they ever would, which is really kind of exciting because you can still have 50 people in a room and make 5 and 6 figures in a couple of days. And you can also have a couple hundred people in the room and make $2.1 million, like one of our clients did just a couple of months ago.
Wow. So let me, I may be diverting too severely here, but let's talk about that pivot to the virtual. There definitely was. I mean, companies of all sizes had to figure that out. And the people that had traditionally been platform speakers were shut down temporarily because of the cancellation of all the live events. What was the view from your seat as that transition was happening?
Yeah, I think March 13th, Friday the 13th will be forever ingrained into my mind and into my body, because that's when it happened here in California where we got completely shut down. And I kid you not, that Monday, so we got shut down on Friday, and that Monday, I had a client that was bringing in over 600 women to Santa Cruz for a live in-person event. And so we had to go, okay, great, now what? I mean, we were getting creative. We were like, okay, what if we end up setting something up at a hotel and we bring in the AV equipment and we only have some people based on, what is the capacity you can have in person. And then they got rid of that completely. So it was like nobody could be in person. And they were like, okay, so we have to go completely virtual. What does that look like? And it was fascinating. I feel that the pandemic ended up really supporting a new wave of outside the box thinking for our industry. And I feel was really a blessing in disguise. Here we are a couple of years out from it, and my clients have shifted. They've either created studios in their homes. We've either created studios in different locations. I've had 15 different Zoom rooms all mushed together where I could have somebody in Zoom room 1 open their mic and studio 5, 6, 7, 15 could all hear them and hear the speaker. So we got to think outside the box differently there. I've had clients that have never had an international audience before are now international, right? So their reach has now expanded. Their business has expanded. They've been able to really connect people all around the world, which I just absolutely love. And the best part is, now that we're a couple of years out, I just saw a study from the State of Virtual Events 2022. It was like a global study of over 1,200 organizers and attendees by Colterra. And they were saying that as an attendee, 75% of people will definitely continue to attend virtual attendees when in-person comes back. And 84% of them would like to always have some type of virtual option. So that just kind of tells me that virtual events will never die, and we'll just continue this going forward.
Yeah, I have encountered that in a lot of the business circles I deal with. I live in the Houston area, and of course we are a huge sprawling MSA, 15 counties in the surrounding area that's counted in that MSA. And to say the least, driving from one corner to the opposite corner is a huge investment in time. And I can't tell you how many discussions I've been in the last 6 months where people have said, "Hey, guess what? I'm not making that drive anymore. I have made a business choice. If you tell me the only way we're going to meet is for me to drive over an hour one way to get to see you, sorry, I'm out." And people are on the receiving end of that message. People are generally saying, I get it. You're right. I'm cool. What Zoom link do you want to use? You want to use mine or yours? Which or Teams or whichever. And so the mindset is definitely changing. So, and I think on that note, though, there are still some holdouts. There's still some people that are kind of like, no, not so much. What are you seeing in your world for those that might still be clawing and scratching into the new reality?
Yes, I'm definitely seeing a couple of different things. One of the biggest pieces is community, right? So being in a lockdown state for a few years, people were really isolated. And a lot of the mental health has become more and more of in the forefront. And so what we're seeing is people are coming to events, yes, to learn education-wise, to have some networking opportunities, but to mainly have community. And so in order to support that, there are people going back to in-person in order to have that community feel, right? To have the meetings after the meetings and hanging out in the bar afterwards or in the hallways. But then you also have the community being built on the virtual space. So when we went into this, we really came in going at it, what did we love about live in person? Because they're all still live. But what do we enjoy about the in-person, and how do we convert that into virtual? So I've had clients actually create hallways virtually, which they opened up a different Zoom room before the event, and people just go and hang out and network and connect. And then they would move over to the main session room. And so we did this all utilizing what we call a dashboard, which is this a really amazing website that we end up creating that houses everything, right? It's that one-stop shop where it's like, I can go in a hallway, I can go to a coaching zone, I can download this, I've got my emoji sticks, right? It's like that one hub, and they can do everything that we were doing in person. So that's one piece that I really see. Also utilizing the breakout session rooms to create that community. People are also, just as a virtual trend right now, they don't want to listen to just a talking head. They want it to be interactive. We've been here for a couple of years, and you need to have something that is visually entertaining. Think of it kind of like a movie or a TV show. So that's where the AV and the production pieces come in. Having multiple camera angles, using the emoji sticks, having it so you have breakout session rooms, doing something special for your VIPs or your all access where they get to go into a smaller breakout room with just those people, bringing in movement and some exercise, but doing it in a different location. So how we did this recently, we had a client in the Bahamas. We ended up taking her bedroom, one of her bedrooms, which she was going to use as her office, a couple hundred square feet. We ended up creating a studio. So she's got the different Zoomies in front of her. She's got my notes to her. She's got the countdown timer. She's got her agenda. She's got Zoomies behind her. And then we also just set up different spots in her house. So we went outside at one point for her to do the workout session after lunch. And it was out there by the pool. Like, how great and amazing. So people are getting a glimpse into you as the expert, into your world and your space. And it just kind of adds that extra level of community and connection that people have been missing.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So I'm curious, the dashboard scenario you described, is that your proprietary technology that you've put in play?
It is something that our team will create for every event that we have that's virtual. So it is designed specifically for each event. Now, a lot of it is similar. You know, you've got the hero image at the top and you've got the resources at the side, but each client wants it to be a little bit different. So maybe there's videos that we end up talking about and they're like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just put that on the dashboard. And bam, we can easily upload it. Or anytime we end up having an offer, we can upload any of the documentation or the links for them to purchase, which would be the same thing as if we were in an in-person space, dropping them on the table, the enrollment forms, so to speak.
Nice. Got
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I think people are probably familiar, if you've ever participated in one of these events, with some subject matter expert, author, speaker, guru. Inevitably, you get a few hours of the program content that you signed up for, but at some point there's a sale from the stage for an upcharge opportunity, upsell opportunity, either a mastermind or another kind of group or another longer term program. So I think people are fundamentally aware of that model and that scenario. Do you have your own blueprint of progression that you could help a host organize?
Yes, absolutely. Well, and the way that we look at it is you only have so much time with somebody, right? Like if you're doing a 1-day event, you're doing 6 or 8 hours with them. If you're doing a 3-day event, you're going to do that over 3 days, but you can't really adjust everything in somebody's life over 3 days. Yeah. You just can't. Right. You can give them, like, okay, it's a 5-step process. Let me go ahead and go deep in step 1, or let me give you an overview of all 5. But in order to go much deeper, then we need 6 months. We need a year in order to change and shift and adjust, right? So there is an arc and a flow to the run a show. And so we actually do support our clients in creating that. In order to do that, we start with the end in mind. So what is the end objective? And there's 2 different ways that we look at this. One, what is your program and what is it that you're offering? What have you already gotten people crazy awesome results in, right? Because we need to make sure that there is proof of concept. And then secondly, what is the event promise? Whether or not somebody does business with you in the end, what are they walking away with, right? We have to make sure that they're actually leaving with value, because they're giving you time, they're investing their time, they need to receive something in return, right? And make it a win-win situation. Right. So absolutely, we do support them in creating that arc, that flow, that just leads people to, this is your next best step. And we know that a percentage of people will say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm a so-called graduate of the John Maxwell program. And boy, talk about running an event. Have you ever heard about or been to a Maxwell event?
I've been with him. I've had a few books signed by him. I've hung out with him. One of my mentors has been trained by him. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's a 3-day event, and it's over in Orlando, Florida, which of course is a huge, vacation oriented. I mean, the whole thing is about tourism and travel. But it is quite an orchestrated event. They, I mean, I'm not going to go into all the details, but if anybody's familiar with it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is A+ from start to finish, and you're exhausted at the end of 3 days after you've been through it all, because even the energy in the room when each of the sessions are going on is just off the charts, and it's great content, great material. And of course, John himself is such a dynamic personality and expert. You don't even realize what you're being taught while you're listening, but when you walk away from there, your head is spinning. But
Right.
quite
And
a,
all the more reason to go, okay, I now have everything. Now what do I do with this?
right,
Right.
right.
You're like, I just need somebody to help me implement all of it now
Yeah,
and
yeah,
help hold me accountable.
yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
that's essentially what a lot of people pay for
I
is
know.
the accountability and like lead me through it step by step because it's just overwhelming
Right.
otherwise.
Right. And that's exactly what John's does. He has a mentorship program, which is the next step after the basic. And it's the
Mhm.
longer term, 1 year type program.
Mhm.
Shay, it's hard to believe we're kind of up on a break point here. Let me take a quick pause for a commercial message and we'll dive right back in when we come back.
Business is all about solving complex problems as fast as you can create them. Become the best problem solver by leading others to greatness too. And the first step is going to DougThorpe.com. Doug Thorpe is known globally for coaching entrepreneurs and business leaders, improving their performance and the work output of everyone surrounding them. You can find health, wealth, and happiness by learning to lead others to health, wealth, and happiness. Go to DougThorpe.com now and order Doug's books or hire him to coach your managers. That's DougThorpe.com.
Well, we're back, everyone. Thank you for hanging in and listening to us. I'm visiting with Shay Wheat. She is a certified event producer, and we were talking about some of the just general landscape and the pivot to virtual and all things going on. But I want to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts. What I'm thinking about, Shay, is people that have positioned themselves as speakers and authors and authorities, maybe they're just taking baby steps, growing this up. Maybe they think they're ready for an event. Are there steps or stages or, different levels of programming they can think about?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That's a really good question, Doug. And it's actually surprising because I've sat down and I've actually looked at there's at least 17 different types of
Oh
events that
my,
people should be doing, right?
17. Wow. Okay.
17. I'm sure there's more, but that's all that I could just like brainstorm really quickly.
Okay.
There's events out there that are 90-minute workshops. People can be doing summits. They can be doing retreats. They can be doing masterminds. We've already talked a little bit about the 1-day and the 3-day sales and enrollment events. They can be doing seminars and podcasts like we're doing right now. This is technically an event. They can be doing meetups and Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, clubhouses, conferences, challenges, hackathons, conventions, trade shows. Like there's just a lot of different types of events out there. However, what I've realized is based on the level of business that you're in, you should be doing certain types of events. So I listed a ton of different kinds, but you should not be doing some of those events if you're in phase 1 of event leverage versus phase 5 of event leverage. So in order to take a look at it, would it be helpful to know kind of what the phases are?
Yeah, please.
Okay, awesome. So if we look at phase 1 of event leverage, this is the validate phase, okay? In the validate phase, your primary goal is to get clients and get them crazy awesome results. That's it. That's your only goal.
Okay.
And in order to move on to phase 2, you need to have 8 to 10 full paying clients. And when you get them those crazy awesome results because you're looking for proof of concept. You're looking for the testimonials. You're looking to leverage to the next level. In order to do that, most people in phase 1 are wanting to do some market research. And this is where you're validating your offer, you're modifying your offer, you're figuring out what works, what doesn't, and how to tweak and adjust it so then you can make more offers, right? We need to bring money into the business and make sure that you actually have proof of concept. So from there, you move into phase 2. And phase 2 is about visibility. So in visibility, you're looking to do just that, increase your visibility. You might not have a whole lot of income coming in yet, so that's where we want to start looking at using the free platforms for your events. This is your Facebook Lives, your Instagram Lives, your Clubhouse rooms, things along those kind of measures. You also want to look at being on like a guest on other people's stages. So other people's stages could be webinars, podcasts, summits. And then third is looking at sponsoring events and being a speaker sponsor. So somebody who has your niche, your ideal audience already in the room, you're essentially paying to play. Okay, they filled the room. And you're looking to support and say, hey, thank you. I want to go ahead and make a free offer, a gift in order to lead gen, because we're looking for visibility, right?
Yeah.
So once you end up having a pretty consistent monthly income of about $5,000, you're then going to move into phase 3, which is the grow phase. Okay. So you're going to continue to do your list building. You're going to continue to do your visibility, still doing those webinars and such. But now you're going to want to take a look at doing some of your own stages, because you've already have a list now that you're cultivating and creating a community. Now you want to start doing master classes, your own webinars, and your own summits. Okay. In order to move from phase 3 to 4, you want to start making about a pretty consistent $10,000 or so a month in your business. In order to do that, you move to phase 4, and now we're looking at scale. And in scaling, your goal is to create business systems essentially, in order to create about 20K or so a month in your business. So you're going from one-on-one sales and enrollment calls, bringing in clients, getting them crazy awesome results, to doing a one-to-many model. Okay. So this is where you're looking at your one-day sales and enrollment events. You're looking at retreats. You're looking at workshops. You're looking at like small mastermind groups that you get together. Okay. And then once you kind of hit that level, then you move to phase 5, which is leverage. And in leverage, your goal and objective is to really stay in your zone of genius. In phase 4, you're definitely bringing on team to support you in creating those business systems. In phase 5, you should really be delegating a lot more to your team so you can stay where you're in your best zone. And from there, you're doing your 3-day sales and enrollment events. This is where my clients are bringing in 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures in 3 days into their business. And then they're fulfilling upon that for the next year, right? So that's kind of the 5 phases of event leverage.
Now, are you helping people in those early phases with anything like, I don't know, orchestrating podcasts or those other social media type events?
Not so much placing or finding it for them, more making them aware of it. And so, I've actually just created a guide that allows people to go, okay, this is where I'm at in this phase, and this is my next step. It's more when you start getting into phase 3, 4, and 5 is when our company can really support you in creating the masterclasses, the webinars, the summits, the 1-day, the 3-day events, and really kind of help skyrocket you to the next level.
Got it.
And I also want to mention that it doesn't necessarily have to take a long time to get from phase 1 to phase 4, right? Or even phase 5. As long as you are methodical and have the system in place and kind of follow the suggestions we have for you, you could hit it within a year. Easy.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And you certainly hear testimonials, in all the social media channels. There's these guys that pop up that are so-called experts in their field or their subject. The one thing that I find interesting, the ones that are seemingly most prevalent are the ones that are teaching you how to do marketing and advertising and they're selling marketing and advertising programs. Here's how to run YouTube ads, here's how to run Facebook ads, whatever. And
that's kind of interesting because if I think about my client base, our clients are a little bit different. So it's like we have clients that are helping women entrepreneurs grow their business, right? Figuring out their niche and how they gain clients and how they keep clients and how they renew clients. Not so much the marketing like Facebook ads or anything, We've got clients that are doing certification programs. We've got clients on, well, some of them, like one client was actually how to use LinkedIn to bring in more clients, that for sure. But then we also have personal development clients, right? So the one that we just did was personal development and working on yourself. And how does that then also just bleed into everything else that you do in life? So yeah, anybody can really use an event as a part of their business structure to support and growing it, for sure.
The opportunity, I want to go back to a comment you made in the first half about this sort of innate desire to be part of a community. And yeah, I think everyone would agree that dynamic took a hit during COVID. All of us are feeling a little isolated in varying degrees and sort of disenfranchised from the norm. And now as we're getting opportunities to get back into that, do you have any general takeaways on what the next, chapter in all this is going to look like?
Yeah. Well, of course, I've got my crystal ball here. It's actually not a crystal ball. It's like a magic 8-ball. But, well, let's see what it says. You can count on it as what it says right now.
Okay, there we go.
But if I were to take a look at kind of what's happening trend-wise right now, is people are wanting community for sure. They're a little concerned about, like, do I do virtual? Do I do in person? Do I do hybrid? Do I do digital first? Like, what does that look like? What is the best one for me and my audience? They're taking a look at how do I increase engagement? Because some people are tired of being on virtual, So how do I have them show up? How do I keep them there? How do we, continue to support them? Because we know they have the pain. There's still the pain, whatever it is. It's either pain in their business, pain in their personal life, pain in their relationships, whatever the pain is, it's still there. Yeah. But how do we engage them? So what I'm seeing is the trend being that we're looking at content, not necessarily going deep. Not going wide with content. So for example, the event we just completed, she's got the 12 keys for personal development. This is now the 3rd year we've done that particular event. And taking a look at what's happening in the world, we decided not to go into all 12 keys. We've actually cut the content and went deeper into 6 of them, right? We still gave them the overview of all 12, but we went deeper in 6 because we wanted to give more value and takeaways that they could go and utilize right then and there. Now, of course, they can join us in the program if they want to go deeper in all 12. But at least they walked away with 6 really good, deep content pieces right then and there in the 3 days that we had them. And within that, we also utilized the breakout session rooms. So people got to do community-based things. So we taught a topic, we sent them into, a writing exercise, sent them into a breakout session room, came back and did mic shares. And this movement, where it was constantly changing and things were happening, really supported in people staying with us. So much so that they were actually staying in the 90 percentile of stay rates, wow, which is absolutely huge for a 3-day event.
Yeah. Very
so
nice.
Those are some of the key things that I'm seeing for right now going forward. If you are going to be doing a virtual event, you absolutely must implement into your event.
Yeah. If someone is on the fence, I'll make it personal. If I tell you, okay, I've done my whole host of one-on-one coaching events. I've landed leads the traditional way, word of mouth, a little bit of social media, a few things I'm doing. And now I think I'm ready to try to organize an event. Is there do you have a checklist of helping me determine if I'm really ready for that?
Yeah, actually I do. I've got the 5 phases guide to scale and leveraging. So what I can do for your audience here is if they were simply to go to 5phases.info/leadership, and that's spelling out the word 5, F-I-V-E, phases.info/leadership, they can actually get the guide and it'll tell them step by step, like, okay, if you're here, it's like a flow chart, right? If you're here, you go here, then go here, then go here. Okay, you're in this phase. And then you flip to the page for that one. And it's like, okay, in this phase, this is what you need to do right now in order to get to the next phase. And then this is what you need to do in that phase to get to the next phase. So that's really the first step, is taking a look at where you're at in your business. And then how do you move from phase to phase to phase?
Oh, very nice, Shay. That's great. It sounds like a very powerful resource and a good idea for someone that's dabbling in it. I've got a running joke with a couple of colleagues locally here. There's 3 of us, 3 musketeer kind of thing. All of us are authors. We've been speakers. We've been corporate trainers and, subject matter gurus in our own rights. And we all joke. We said, we've been at this sort of thought leader influencer game for a number of years, and pretty soon we're going to be overnight successes.
Of course, right? It's the whole like iceberg situation where it's like you only see this much and all of the work that you had down below. To be an
Every time we
success.
get together, we'll have a breakfast we share about once a month, and every time we get together, we joke about that. We ask, what are you doing next? What are you doing next? And maybe somebody's got a new book, or they got a new program, or a new pitch of some sort. And we joke about that pretty soon, you never know, after 6 or 8 years, we might be overnight successes.
Absolutely. Well, you all should do like a book tour event, right? Where y'all get together and talk about like some of the key principles in each of your books. And then just kind of make a tour.
We've actually done a little bit of
countries.
that. We've done a little bit of that, and the problem we've got is one of the guys, when you give him a mic, he'll never get it back.
That's why in virtual we can mute people, and we just don't let them unmute themselves, right? I got you, Doug. Don't worry.
I like it. I'll have to share that with him. Well, Shay, this has been great. I'm confident it's been helpful to those that might be listening, and then they may be at that stage of their business where they're feeling kind of an inkling to want to go out there and try this. What is the best way people can get a hold of you if they're looking for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely on social media, Grace and Ease Productions. You can also find us on the web, graceandeaseproductions.com. And then if you do pick up the 5phases.info/leadership, then you'll also have my email and be able to connect with me that way.
Oh, that's great. Well, and if you're listening to this show just through a streaming service, we'll have those links in the show notes that you can get back to and refer to. And I do want to remind people that we post a video version of this show, and you're going to enjoy seeing the energy that Shay has shared with us. I know you've heard in her voice, but she's got a glistening smile to share too. So hop over to the YouTube channel and take a look. But Shay, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on, and I really appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you so much. I've had a blast.
Well, likewise. And so, folks, we are going to wrap this up. This has been another episode of Leadership Powered by Common Sense. I really appreciate you dropping in and taking a listen or giving a view. If you do hop over to YouTube, don't forget you can subscribe to the channel, and that way you'll get notices about all the episodes we've got coming up. Look forward to seeing you again soon, real fast, and we're going to say goodbye. Take care.
You've been listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense, hosted by Doug Thorpe. If you would like to know more about the coaching and advisory services he provides, visit dougthorpe.com.